Not exactly news that Bills fans wanted to hear just 2 days before their final preseason game. Tre White suffered an injury in the last practice of Bills training camp. We're going to dive into what that injury means for the current state of the Bills cornerback room that already has a couple more stacking up. Also, later on today's show, we're going to get into the details from the final practice of training camp here, safety room talk, who's playing on Saturday, and so much more on today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith, and before we get started on today's show, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We are currently in a sub battle with some division rivals. Another new channel here at Chat Sports, the Jets Report. And Jets Report host Patrick Seaman has been talking smack to me all week long. They're in the lead right now, but we can change that. If you're a diehard Bills fan, you want free content on YouTube every single day, go down below and hit that subscribe button, 100% free. All right, let's get into this Tre White injury here. Sal Capaccio breaking it all down. Says Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White hopped off of the field on one leg today and immediately looked to trainers. He stood by the outside with them for several minutes before working slowly on his own with a trainer nearby into the locker room area. White later walked back down into the tunnel towards the field, where then he sat in the cart and was driven out. So the cart coming out here for Tre'Davious White, and that can mean a lot of different things in the preseason. They kind of bring out the cart for everything at this point, but it's interesting that he kind of was walking around already, and then they kind of ex-nayed that, told him to stop, and they brought out the cart for him. And this is unfortunate, man, because he's a player who is past the age of 30, and he's already had some pretty deteriorating injuries over the past couple of seasons. And back in 2021, kind of started with that ACL tear, and you really never saw the same Tre White in a Buffalo Bills uniform after that injury went down. And then, you know, the Achilles heel, in a quite literal sense, he tore it back in October of 2023, and he's really been a shell of himself ever since that. But all the reports at the start of training camp were that we've seen a new and rejuvenated Tre White. He kind of looks and is showing flashes of his old self. Here's what Bobby Babich had to say about White during training camp. And he said, there are some things with Tre'Davious, like all these guys, that we've got to improve on, but there is flashes of that Tre White that are still there that we know. So there's a couple things that we got to make sure that he ties the bow on. But again, we just want to continue to see him grow here back in the system. And we saw and we've seen in Hard Knocks that Tre White's pretty comfortable being back with the Buffalo Bills for the first time in a couple of seasons. Just took that year off, spent some time with the Rams and the Ravens, and now is back in the 7-1-6. And he has been the CB2 basically throughout camp over Maxwell Hairston. Even before the Hairston injury occurred, Tre White has been operating as the team's starting CB2 opposite Christian Benford. So definitely hurts here to see the guy that Bills fans would be seeing with the first team probably go down and potentially miss week 1 action, as that's like 3 weeks away at this point. And look, man, down the depth chart here at cornerback, it is not all that inspiring because Maxwell Hairston is still recovering from an injury, and he seems like he's got a little bit more serious of a thing going on than Tre White. I have him above Tre White on the depth chart here just naturally because I think this is how it's going to shake out toward the end of the season. But in training camp, Tre White has been taking those right cornerback duties outside the boundary opposite Benford. You got Cam Lewis, who's a little bit banged up there in the depth, and then Dane Jackson is a potential starter for week 1 against Baltimore. Obviously, Taron Johnson and Benford pretty healthy right now at the nickel and other outside spot. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see who the Bills kind of call upon here in this third preseason game. Could there be a guy who's, jumps among the crowd and shows himself as a potential depth piece here, as Buffalo could be missing both Maxwell Hairston and Tre White for week 1 against Baltimore. More about Hairston here from Ryan Talbot of Syracuse.com as he threw this at the bottom of his Tre White injury update. Hairston has recently been able to stop needing crutches to get around and was working off to the side in Wednesday's practice. He's wearing a knee brace but was able to do some rope and medicine ball work. The timeline for Hairston's return is hazy, and the likelihood is that he's ready to step back and play in less than 3 weeks against the Baltimore Ravens is extremely low. So not good news, kind of a double dose of bad news here for Bills fans at that cornerback spot. And we could honestly make it a triple dose because Dane Jackson starting at your boundary corner in week 1 against one of the highest powered offenses in the National Football League is also bad news. He's been rough in the preseason. He got cut from the Carolina Panthers last year, and I'm not exactly inspired by Dane Jackson, even if he's familiar with this Buffalo Bills defense and system. He's just not really all that great of a player. And to be quite frank with you guys, I wasn't banking on Tre White to be all that great of a player. But look, CB2 is not going to be the make or break for this Bills team as far as where they need to go this season, but it's not great that we're heading into the regular season with a bunch of injuries at that spot. So let's send good vibes to Tre White. Hopefully it's just a rolled ankle. I was looking around on Twitter a little bit, and some Twitter doctors were speculating that, crossing fingers, that it's just a rolled ankle here and it's nothing too serious, going to keep him out long term. Send the good vibes. Make that stuff happen. Type your 27s down in the comment section. Tre White Goalie Academy. Show him some love. All right, news from last practice of camp. This is it. Training camp is officially over. Roster cutdown day is going to be next week. Final preseason game is tomorrow, and I cannot wait to get into real football action here with your Buffalo Bills. We'll recap the last practice of training camp in just a moment, but get hooked up with our proud sponsor on the program first, and that is Prize Picks, because football season is here. Take advantage of all the deals that they have on the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America, and that is Prize Picks, where you can win up to 2,000 times your money watching your Buffalo Bills. And it's so simple. All you guys got to do is pick a couple players, 2 to 6 to be exact, and just pick more or less on their projected stats. And it's also just not limited to just football. Baseball season's in full swing right now. The playoffs will be coming up in about a month. So you guys could play anything on Prize Picks. Okay, you got college football as well. You can combine these sports. Just pick more or less. Like if it's Josh Allen, to throw for 256.5 yards, you could type more or you could type less based on your week-to-week matchups. As for what I have in week 1 of the football season with your Buffalo Bills, I decided to go with James Cook to get in the paint. Give me more than 0.5 touchdowns there against Baltimore on Sunday night. And then Josh Allen, more than 34.5 yards on the ground. I'll take that every single time you offer it to me. Also, got Avery Johnson there in college football. So make sure you take advantage of that deal early on Saturday as well. More than half a passing yard. You can tell my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code CLNS for $50 instantly. We're hooking you guys up with free $50. CLNS, $50 instantly when you play your first $5 entry. You don't have to win that entry to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All that information is clickable in the comment section and description of today's video. 2025 Buffalo Bills training camp is officially, as they say, in the books. And this guy right here has been the star of Bills training camp. We've heard from many of Bills coaches, many of Bills teammates, that we're seeing a different Keon Coleman this upcoming season, so I thought it would be very fitting to throw him on the photo here for the last practice of training camp. He also made a pretty big play late in practice. We'll talk about that in just a second. But as far as Thursday goes, rest for the vets on this team. Josh Allen obviously did not practice much today, and then Joey Bosa did not participate in many team drills during Thursday's action. Josh, according to Sean McDermott, will not be suiting up against the Bucs. Neither will really any of the first teamers for Buffalo, so it's fine. We're not going to see Josh in the preseason. I don't think anybody in Buffalo is really losing sleep over that. Let's talk about Christian Benford a little bit here, as we didn't mention this when we were talking about the Bills cornerback room as a whole, because I don't think it's that big of a deal. Nobody around Bills media blew it up too big. Christian Benford left practice early. He said to the reporters that he needed a little bit of rest, and I think that's okay at this point. I'm not really concerned with Christian Benford. He's one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the league. He's locked up for the foreseeable future in Buffalo, and he's going to be this team's CB1 for the foreseeable future. So I'm excited to see what Benford's going to do, and he's probably going to have to carry a pretty hefty load there, as there's question marks at CB2 for Buffalo right now. DNPs on Thursday. We'll talk about a few of them. Cedric Van Pangrange. Look, it's undisclosed what his injury is right now. I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet, so if you got it, let me know in the comments section. Maxwell Harrison's still obviously out with his knee. Khalil Shakir out with the hamstring, but all signs to point him to being ready for week 1. Stephen Gosnell didn't practice with a calf. We'll see if this is his last Bills appearance this upcoming weekend. Could be a practice squad name. Jordan Hancock with the shoulder injury. It's not looking too likely that he suits up against Tampa Bay either, but I could argue he ends up being this other team's opposite starting safety by season's end. Keontae Jenkins with an ankle injury, Tylen Grable with a concussion, and then Travis Clayton with a concussion as well. None of those guys practiced on Thursday. Some limited action as well for Shaq Thompson with that knee, still recovering from last season. Cam Lewis with the calf, and then Connor McGovern with a hamstring injury as well. So the injuries are piling up a little bit for Buffalo here. It's not great, but I think as long as 17 is fully healthy, there's not all that much to worry about. Now, a pretty substantial injury here for a new Bills signee, Grant DuBose. He broke his collarbone on Wednesday, and he was carted off, and it's unfortunate that this is probably going to be his last, ability to get on a practice squad for this upcoming season here. He probably would have had big opportunity in preseason week 3 as well, so it's unfortunate that he will miss that action and probably this NFL season. Now, a player who did see full participation on practice on Thursday, Dalton Kincaid. He put the ball on the turf today, though, so not great from Kincaid, and to be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit concerned about Dalton Kincaid and the true threat that he poses to opposing defenses. But on a short play over the middle, Terrell Bernard came in and punched the ball out. Damar Hamlin put a hard hit on Bills RB a few plays later, and Josh Allen came in to let Hamlin know his thoughts on the play. That wasn't the only tiny skirmish in practice on Thursday, but not great news for Dalton Kincaid fumbling the rock there. The defense has been making plays, though, throughout camp this week. Sean McDermott did say in some good injury news for Buffalo, Curtis Samuel is looking pretty good. He said he's looked good, he's looked fast, he's looked fresh. He's taken a bunch of 11-on-11 in pads this week, and he's been recovering from that hamstring injury that he suffered back in July. It looks like things are trending in the direction of Curtis Samuel making this team, but who knows? He could be a hot trade name candidate. He and Elijah Moore could be fighting for a roster spot. Somebody we do know is going to be playing on Saturday against the Buccaneers is going to be Cole Bishop, and thank the Lord, because I need to see more Cole Bishop here. He's got to get ramped up and get back into game speed before the regular season comes around, because as it stands right now, he is the starting safety opposite Taylor Rapp. We'll talk more about the safety room in just a second, but Bishop's got to show us a lot this upcoming Sunday for us to be confident in him heading into week one. Baltimore has got one of the best passing attacks in the league right now, and the play of this safety room outside of Taylor Rapp in the preseason and in camp has not been all that inspiring, specifically from Damar Hamlin and Cole Bishop. I like what I've seen from Hancock, but there's still a lot of discipline issues to be had there defensively. Now, as far as what else happened with the safeties today, they got cooked. I was alluding to this earlier. Keon Coleman had a nasty highlight play in practice, went up and had a contested catch versus both Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp. Great timing and hands to make the grab for a touchdown, and a great ball from Josh Allen. And then I was surprised that there wasn't a skirmish after this play, because just a little bit before, Taylor Rapp was kind of getting a little bit heated. He went off and kind of got kicked out of practice on Thursday, set off a skirmish between the offense and defense. Deion Dawkins got involved. Both sides, basically everybody from both the O and the D were in the middle of it, shoving around, screaming words, all that stuff. Just good, hot preseason fun. But Taylor Rapp is low-key a little bit of a loose cannon in practice and kind of needs to be reined in a little bit. He put a hard hit on Dalton Kincaid. He's kind of just been reckless and using that guardian cap like he's playing Mario Kart with a star, just bouncing off of everybody. It's really been a little bit reckless. So I want to see that in the regular season, but can we cool it with all these injuries stacking up for Buffalo here? He got kicked out of practice. He kicked his helmet, a bunch of footballs, and he sat down on the bench. So not great from Taylor Rapp heading into the last preseason week, but I think he'll be fine, and knowing other teams' fan bases once the regular season rolls around. What's your concern level with the safety room? Let me know in the comment section. I've been asking this question all week long because it's really the number one problem with the Bills' defense at this point. 1 through 10, what's your current concern level this time? Let me know in the comments section. 10 means we are absolutely cooked. All right, all in all, I will say this about the Bills preseason. It has been pretty sloppy, and look, that's not uncharted waters. Like, they were pretty porous defensively and rough last year in the preseason, so there's not much to take away from all this. I think they're going to have all their ducks in a row when it comes time for the regular season. Like, this is going to be a 12-plus win team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, barring major injuries, so not much to take away from the preseason. We didn't see a lot of starters in action really at all through these 3 games, and that's unfortunate, but I'm just getting pumped up, getting ready for Sunday night. Carrie Underwood going to be on our TV screens once again. Bills, Ravens, I cannot wait. We are going to be live as well tomorrow on the channel, so make sure you are subscribed and make sure you follow me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting out the link and all that stuff at Tyler J. Smith. We'll be live right here on the channel, so if you made it to the end of today's video, join us, turn your notifications on, and subscribe to the Bills Breakdown for the best Buffalo Bills content on YouTube all season long. I'm trying to grow this channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one. As always, let's go, Buffalo.